Well, she peels back the covering and reveals this long gash on both sides that goes all the way up to her ear. You can see the teeth in her mouth. And she says, "Do you think I'm pretty now?" Welcome to Friday Night Ghost Frights on Haunted Road Media. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. Explore with us. Imagine you're walking home down the road, the normal route you usually take, and you decide, today I'm going to take a bit of a shortcut. Turn down a little side street. And as you're walking, coming toward you is a woman. You don't really pay it any mind, it's just an ordinary woman, except she does have her face covered. You might be a little curious as to why, not really sure, but you're headed home, just walking down the street. Well, all of a sudden, she stops you and asks you a very peculiar question. "Do you think I'm pretty?" You might say yes. After all, you can see from her eyes that she is a beautiful woman. Her hair is very nicely done. Her clothing is well done. You just can't see the bottom of her face. So you say yes. Yes, you are pretty. Well, she peels back the covering and reveals this long gash on both sides that goes all the way up to her ear. You can see the teeth in her mouth. And she says, "Do you think I'm pretty now?" Well, now you're totally in shock. You might say yes, and if you do, she kills you, hacks you in half. Maybe you say no. She'll let you go. But then later on that night, she'll kill you in your sleep. So who is this mysterious woman with the grisly smile, known as the Slit Mouth Woman? Well, the old Japanese legend has it that there was a woman, a very vain woman. She was married, and her husband was suspecting of her cheating on him. Some legends say that yes, she was cheating on him. Others are indifferent. However, he became very, very angry at whether it was that she was cheating on him or whether it was that she was just extremely vain. Both accounts are that she was extremely vain. Well, in his rage, he tied her up, made the nasty gashes on her face, showed her a mirror and said, "Who will think you're pretty now?" Some say he ended up slicing her head off her body after doing this. Some say that she died some days later, but she has been known as Kuchisake Onna ever since, the Slit Mouth Woman, as we have come to know her. The encounter that I described at the beginning is very common for the Slit Mouth Woman. She hides in plain sight, just a woman walking down the road, you'd never suspect her. In modern tales, she's wearing a surgical mask. In some of the older ones, she may have some sort of covering over her face or a fan or something of the like. But they all have the same question, am I pretty? And either answer still nets you death. So some people believe they have outwitted the Slit Mouth Woman by giving her a vague answer. Some have suggested saying, "I don't know." Some have suggested giving candy. That's kind of the older legend. And some have suggested the reverse question, "Do you think I'm pretty?" And at this confusion, she seems to lose it for a moment and the person's able to get away without having answered either one to give them death. Those that have tried to run have found her to be extremely quick. When they turn and they start to go, boom, she's right in front of them immediately, asking the same question again. And so a decision must be made unless they can trick her. Now, this has generally been regarded as an urban legend for centuries. However, there was a scare in 1979 in Nagasaki, a legitimate scare with the Slit Mouth Woman. The children insisted that they were seeing her on the streets and were absolutely terrified. The police upped their numbers, they increased their patrols because it became a legitimate scare. So children started traveling in groups. Teachers were ushering children home. They were walking home with them so that they wouldn't be encountered by the Slit Mouth Woman. This went on for some time. Given the description, this was the surgical mask one. They thought that perhaps some sort of psychotic woman was on the loose and they were going to go ahead and capture her and detain her. But whatever happened with the 1979 scare, we don't really know. It just eventually subsided. Some people speculate or rumored that the Slit Mouth Woman was actually hit by a car and died. But there's no verification of that story. So it may be that she's still on the loose there to this day. If it was a real woman, or if it's the ghost, well, she would always be there, wouldn't she? There's other variations of the story and some legends of encounters, such as one being followed into the woods by the Slit Mouth Woman and being pinned to the ground using a cross and saying a prayer to fend her off. There's others about her trying to give particular people an actual kiss with her slit mouth, and others, of course, just straight up murders from the Slit Mouth Woman. There was even one of a man who apparently tried to pick up the Slit Mouth Woman, of course not realizing at first, with the surgical mask, but brought her to an alley, asked her if we can go somewhere more private, and, well, it was never seen again. Obviously, most of these tales are just urban legends and folklore passed down through time and general scares, maybe even a little group psychosis playing into it all. But, as I usually say, within these legends there's usually a grain of truth. Perhaps there was a vain woman who may have been cheating on her husband, maybe not, but maybe there was this woman who was very beautiful, and her husband may have murdered her in such a fashion. And this story was passed down, distorted over time, of course. But the event may have still happened at some point in time. Perhaps in a visit from the Slit Mouth Woman, Kuchisake Onna, we can find out the truth. Thank you for watching Friday Night Ghost Frights. Please let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. And if you've not yet, please subscribe and click the little bell for notifications. I'm Mike Ricksecker. Until next Friday night. Just give her a vague answer and never tell her she's